Chapter 17. Way too much. Known for making calm and deliberate decisions, Sky now decided to do something that was neither of those things. But once she'd made up her mind, her rational manner took over. For success, a plan was required, and she took her time to devise it. The best course of action was to leave the area once she rescued Jessie. She didn't want a vengeful Frankie searching her out. Leaving her home meant packing. Sky walked the house choosing what she needed and wanted to take with her. She packed up all her jewelry in a large, black travel case. Sky added her extra cash too, then decided she shouldn't keep all her treasures in one place and moved her money to a small bag that held her tablet, a couple of books, and a notebook. She took that out to her Jeep. As she walked back through the living room, the electricity came on, and the room sprang to life. Lights flashed on and off, then back on again before they settled. The radio flickered and steadied, then its sound strengthened. Earlier, Sky had dialed into local news, and now someone was reporting. She stopped and leaned a jean-covered hip against her couch to listen. The AG flu had infected the regular DJ at the start of the outbreak. Since then, whoever passed by the station would step into the box, state their name and whatever information they wanted to share. Unfortunately, the news most often consisted of the number of the sick and a list of those who died. But Sky forced herself to listen, crossing her arms over her green, short-sleeved t-shirt. At least, I'll know what happened to my neighbors even if it is the worst. And perhaps they'll announce the delivery of food. Then I could pick some items up on my way out of town. A familiar voice said, this is Bill Riley from Riley Funeral Services here. And been over to the feed store. Bob and Alvy was over there. This is the news we have. He listed names of sick families. If one person in a family had the AG flu, everyone assumed they all would have it soon. Sky wiped a tear away as Bill finished his list. The amount of sick slowed for a while, but it seems to have picked back up. Then, his voice cracking with sorrow, he moved on to the long list of townspeople who had passed away. Remember to stay in. Tend to your sick. And if they pass, bring them down to the square. We'll say a few words for them with you. We'll take care of them the best we can. The dead piled up so fast now that burials were no longer an option. It was safer and quicker to cremate those lost to the disease. Sky's tears continued as Bill paused, then cleared his throat before starting again. We also got word from Fenton that police are now estimating an 80% death toll. So, stay out of the city. We're safer here, folks. Let you know when we've got more news. The word is out. Sky shook her head. But are we safer here? After hearing the considerable list of friends and neighbors that were no longer alive, Sky doubted it. Last night, she had stood on the sidewalk, looking for anyone, but the streets were empty. The lights from a few lanterns had shone through some neighbors' homes, but there was no laughter or squeals of play from the children. The wind stirring the trees was the only noise she heard, no matter how hard she strained her ears. She realized for the first time what a lonely sound it could be. Sky tightened her crossed arms as she recalled the names Bill read on the radio. Her hairdresser, to whom she'd waved as she passed her salon almost every day on her way to work. The local baker who always had tea and a bit of gossip for Sky when she picked up a loaf of fresh bread. The postmaster, unfailingly quick to give a sharp warning for any postal infraction, but even faster with a joke and a smile. Then there were her caring neighbors, but those were too hard to think of yet. This town wasn't like the other places Sky had lived. Here, everyone was like an extended family, and each loss seemed personal. It feels as if the whole world is dying. Sky wiped her eyes a few times and let out a deep sigh before getting back to her job at hand. She went to the kitchen and leaned over the counter to add to her growing list. A plan was forming. She would get Jessie and go to her parents in Ohio. It was where Sky wanted to be. Home is what she needed right now, and her mom and dad would be happy to have her and Jessie. They loved children, their care would help give Jessie normalcy and help heal him. Lord knows they've helped heal me in the past. It is a good 5-hour drive home, but if this town is any indication, the streets will be deserted. On the other hand, maybe everyone is trying to get somewhere else. I'll need to plan out 2 different routes and make sure Jessie can read a map in case we need to make a quick change in direction. The roaming sick didn't bother Sky too much. She had been passing them on her way into Fenton for some time now, and as long as she stayed away from them, she thought she would be fine. But those merely infected did. They were still fast and cunning. She shuddered at the thought of running into more groups of infected that wanted to hurt her. 5 hours. It is only 5 hours. I'll stock up on water and snacks. We won't leave the car. We can make it, we have to. What other choice do we have? Although Sky had her worries about traveling home, she couldn't stay here. It was too easy for Frankie to track her down. If he did that, she would have no hope of holding on to Jessie. And even though the world had become unhinged, what she was doing was still illegal. For all she knew, Tom would have to get involved, and she didn't want that to happen. But most of all, she wished this to last. She wanted Jessie to be safe. Somewhere no one could ever make him go back to his dad again. It seemed Ohio was the best place to be, the safest place for both of them. Sky doubted that the world would get back to normal fast enough for anyone to track them down that far away. The radio crackled again. Sky heard an almost inaudible woman's voice. She walked over to the receiver and turned it as high as it would go, then recognized it as Betsy from down the street. Frightened and agitated, Betsy's words ran together as she spoke. Out on Main Street, and I saw a group of them. The sick. Or infected. I didn't know most. They're all bunched up like some sort of gang or something. I can hear them kicking in the doors of the houses and going in. Lots of noise. They're breaking up stuff, destroying everything. There was a pause, and some shuffling noises. Betsy's whispering became more urgent. I have to go. They're getting closer. I wanted to warn everyone. They're coming up Main Street from the south. Get out of your homes. Find a safe place till they pass by. At Betsy's first whispered words, Sky had froze on weak legs. One encounter was enough. She knew the fear of having someone who craved to kill on her heels. She didn't want to feel that again. Before Betsy finished speaking, Sky had gone from deliberating about what to take to throwing together what they couldn't live without. Sky figured she had perhaps 10 minutes to get her stuff packed and get out of the house before they would be here. She needed to move and move fast. Sky felt desperate. She had to get to the boy that she knew. Adrenaline pumping, Sky flew through the rooms. She grabbed what she could and threw it all into the Jeep. I should have gotten more supplies, had the car packed and ready. I was so sure it wouldn't come to this. Now, look at me. As her Jeep screeched out of the driveway, she heard a neighbor's car doing the same. A movement in the yard caught her eye, and she slowed. She needed to know the dangers she faced in this diseased world. Her heart seized as she saw a horde about 15 strong running for her vehicle. These differed from the ones in the city. All seemed in different phases of the disease. Some moved awkwardly, lurching along the yard. Others, in early stages, came at her as fast as any healthy man. They were dirty with torn clothes and grimy, tangled hair. Sky fleetingly wondered if they found shelter at night or if they roamed until they dropped by the roadside. The sounds they made sent a cold shiver through Sky. Some jeered, swearing to end the life of everyone in this town. But others groaned, hissed, panted, or rasped. It echoed every horror film Sky had ever seen. A blue-tinted hand thumped against Sky's back window. She startled and clenched the steering wheel. She twisted forward in her seat and took off. But not before others reached her. As she sped by, grasping fingers smeared dirt and blood-tinged slime along the Jeep's windows. Too close. Way too close. The angry faces got smaller and smaller in Sky's rearview mirror. Her tense muscles loosened a bit. As relieved as she was to be away from the danger, she was sorry to leave. Her home, which she had willingly spent so much time restoring, had been her safe place, her sanctuary. She'd often looked forward to getting home after a stressful day at work and curling up on her comfortable couch for a quiet evening. Will life ever be the same again? Sky turned her focus to the road and slowed. The twists and turns not only made the trip longer but also more dangerous at high speeds. A determined little frown formed between her eyes. The only thing that could stop her now was clogged roads, and she hoped that would not be a problem. Hang on, Jessie. I'll be there soon.